Ladies and gentlemen, in the case of AC/DC versus the people, the genius is going to explain if AC/DC are in fact slop or not. Slop is things to the left of a 7 in catchiness, so things from 0 to 7 in terms of catchiness get called slop, whether it's metal, punk, grunge, indie, blues, jazz, country, classical, etc. Things to the said it wrong the first time. Things to the left of catchiness, of a 7 in catchiness, are called either rock and or pop. Now, without further ado, let's figure out what is slop. Now that we know what slop is, this is the music matrix, by the way. We look at energy and we look at catchiness. Then we want to figure out how do we detect slop. So let's move on to how do we detect slop. Then we're going to get into how much of AC/DC, in fact, is slop. Are they even talented? And then finally, what you are going to think. And we're going to get to what I think based off of the songs that I think we should look at. And this is a question. Do you look at the whole thing? Do you look at the top songs? How do you compare? But let's look at how to detect slop. This is our slop detector right here. We can see if something, this is predictability, how predictable. On this extreme is incoherent, and this extreme is completely corny. Think a sitcom, think an art film. Now, an art student film. Now, let's see. This is the slop zone. This is slop, this is slop, this is slop, this is slop. This is all slop. Now, if you are in one of these slop zones here, you're going to get slop guaranteed. If you're in the money zone, you have a probability of getting slop, of getting a mid song, getting a hit or a smash hit. This does not mean the actual song had to have hit at the time it became a big song, but it was of the quality that it could have, in the right circumstance, become a hit because it's that good. So this is catchiness and quality. This is how predictable. Now, most AC/DC songs tend to be pretty balanced. This is actually Back in Black, so that kind of gives you a hint. It's up at smash hit. It's one of the few songs in the money zone. Being in the money zone does not guarantee that you won't have slop, but it is the only place where you can get a smash hit. If you were outside the money zone, you are not getting smash hit. You're probably getting slop. Now let's look at AC/DC. How much of what they did was good, bad, and ugly, or otherwise? Now let's take a little bit of a ditty. Let's take a look at this. No ditty. We're going to look at some bands and their distributions here. This is how much. This is the ratio of slop, the slop ratio, the slatio. Here's some bands that are for only fans where they have pretty much very little actually like god tier slop and beautiful hits, but they mostly have stuff that is just for people who like the band already. They like the vibe of the band. If you're sold on the concept of Slayer and Motorhead or Frank Zappa, you're going to love all of it. You're going to get a lot of mileage out of it. Meanwhile, here's like someone like David Bowie, Limp Bizkit, Soundgarden, Pearl Jam. But really think Limp Bizkit, David Bowie, those are less controversial. Because to me, they have hits, but they have so few hits, and pretty much most of what they have is completely unlistenable. Now, someone up here might be like Red Hot Chili Peppers or Weezer, where they've got a lot of really good stuff and a lot of really bad slop, but not much in between. These are people who, on average, mostly just made slop, even though they made really good songs. You can't really listen to the whole catalog. Like Limp Bizkit, I like Limp Bizkit. Limp Bizkit's got maybe 10 hit quality songs and maybe 15 B-sides. The rest is completely unlistenable in my opinion. And here are some truly like one-hit wonders. Faith No More, Chicago. I really want to, but Chicago, I listening to so many of the records, it's all just kind of like completely incoherent for the most part, or completely formulaic yet at the same time. Same with Faith No More. Heart, maybe I'm being a little premature. But someone like Led Zeppelin, this is a good example, or Nine Inch Nails, they have like 1/3 is completely really good hits, 1/3 is completely just like, okay, this is good for fans, and then 1/3 is just completely awful. You're not going to listen to it. Now, so you're someone who has the best catalog for most people, seems to be a classic catalog like the Beatles, Daft Punk, Rage Against the Machine, Metallica, mostly hits, a good bit of B-sides, and very little garbage. Pure, undisputed garbage, very little when you're talking about these bands. Now, where do I put Akadaka? Australia's favorite little munchkins. Now, where do I put them? Let's think. I put them in my satchel. No, they're not here where only fans maybe. I guess not, but for me, I would say they're not here as well, the less than 50-50, because they've got a good number of hits. They're definitely not one-hit wonders, so I'm crossing these off as my first place of looking. I think maybe a 50-50. Is it a hit or dud? No, because they have a lot of good B-side. I don't know how many duds they have, though. I'm going to probably go, they're either this or I'm going to sketch it. I want to sketch it, but I don't want to reveal the rest of my songs that I picked. But let's see. Okay. What do I say? So hits, let's think this through real time. You're going to think it through with me. Hits, I think they got a good number of hits, but they're definitely not one of these three, I don't think. Let's see. They don't have garbage B-sides, so they're definitely not these three. It might be one of these three. Quality, I think duds is low to medium. I think there might be a medium amount of duds, and then the B-side level is probably, yeah, it probably looks like this, but maybe there's more duds. Right, classic catalog, but maybe more duds. I'm going to draw that real quick, and then we're actually going to move to the last category, which is some people don't care about how good the songs are. Shocker. Some people just care about, oh, is it a cool t-shirt, and do they have a consistent vibe? Right? Some people just care about, I don't care if the songs are good and they have no brand. I just care that they have really talented virtuoso musicians. Looking at Primus. Primus is a decent, they're not particularly good at songwriting, and they have really talented musicians, right? There's lots of bands where, like, I can't name you more than 2 songs by Extreme, but clearly Nuno Betancourt's an extremely talented guitarist. Same with, like, Racer X, which was, what's his name's band, Paul Gilbert. Now, so let's look here. So AC/DC, their brand, historical and present impact, all of this, they get green, 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 green. This is supposed to be green. They get a green. Green means good. Yellow means okay. Red means bad. Now we're looking at musicianship, vibe, and skill. Where do I put them? I'm going to say great, 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 great. They all have a great, distinct vibe. The chord choices, they work, so, like, it's just good, but that's more for the song. Do I really think of when I go, what are really good chords, and I really want to take inspiration? I'm not really taking inspiration, but they're not bad either. They're not ruining the song. Songwriting, I want to put them in a medium, just because I don't want to, no, but they're really good. Okay, lyrics are good, live show good, riffs good, tones good, solos good, melodies, maybe you could ding melodies because the melodies are really, like, simple, but even then, being simple doesn't mean it's bad. Still, overall, it gets a green. So this, in the movie parlance, if you're making a movie, you'd say it's a 4-quadrant film. If people who like big action scenes get action scenes, ladies who like love scenes get love scenes, right? If people who like a good, really intelligent written story with great dialogue like the Tarantino film, they get something. And people who like big, colorful movies, they get something because it's fun. So if you can include all those things, they're like a rom-com. Rom-com gets romance, gets comedy. Then if you add in a good plot and you add an action, well, now it's a 4-quadrant film. It hits all 4 of the different people who could say it's good or bad. They're all going to say it's good. That's a 4-quadrant film. So now here, AC/DC is a 3-quadrant band, right? Now you wouldn't say quadrant, you'd say like thirdrant, I don't know. But they have good musicianship, they have good songs, and they have a good brand. So they're going to be low in terms of controversy. Someone like Primus is going to be highly controversial, who I use as an example. Even if you don't know Primus, what you do know is that Primus has really good musicianship. They are not very good in the song department, so they might get like a red. I would say Primus are bad songwriters. If you had to press me, if I really had to make the point, I wouldn't say, oh wow, they're really good at writing catchy songs. They're bad at writing catchy songs. Or they haven't demonstrated it through their catalog. But they're extremely good musicians, and no one's going to debate that. So if you care about music and not songwriting, you're going to have different opinions than everyone else, and there's going to be controversy between people in the different quadrants, right? Now, if we're looking at Akadaka, I think that most people do not just think of what is the best song versus the best song, right? If people did do that, they would say, well, I think Motorhead is better than David Bowie because on average, Motorhead has more listable music and David Bowie on average makes slop. But we don't think of the average. We think of our top 10 songs are the ones we think of. The ones that are the best, we filter out the rest as noise. No one goes back and listens to the bad David Bowie records. Holy shoot, it's storming outside. Anyways, Stormy Daniels, let's get back into it. What are the 10 AC/DC songs that I picked? I think most people do that in their head. They do 5 to 10. But usually, if a band doesn't have 10 good songs, it kind of tells you something. Though you might like them, it's harder to say they're good. So I think it's a good filter. I'm going to go first one is Thunderstruck. Extremely catchy, extremely good energy. Highway to Hell, Back in Black. TNT, Such a Thrill. And then, Whole Lot of Roses. Girls got a rhythm. Jailbreak. You shook me all night long. My voice is going. Dirty Dates, Done That Cheating. But anyways, you can see 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, and this is catchiness, and this is energy. Energy puts them at a 7.3, which makes about sense. getting to this high punk level of energy. And we're talking their most amped up, their most catchy songs. They get to about 7.3, something around here, right? Maybe they go down a little bit, maybe they go up a little bit. In the 6 to 8 range is probably where I'd put them. Generally 6.5, maybe up to 8.2 if you want to be Pacific about it like the ocean. Now, we're going to go over, because they are in this kind of punk, proto-metal type of zone. And then I think with the top songs, you go all the way over to about a 9, 9.8, and 8.9. You get all the way over here. You get firmly in the rock category. So people would either say kind of on the borderline of punk and metal in terms of energy. But when you're talking about their biggest songs that people remember, people are going to call them a rock band. That's why AC/DC gets called a rock band. If AC/DC weren't as catchy, people would probably call them a proto-metal band and or a hard rock punk band, right? Most people don't call things hard rock. When people call things hard rock, sometimes it can be because it's actually rock in terms of quality. It's not slop. But it usually is, when people, it's close to metal, but it's not metal. You probably wouldn't go like Queens of the Stone Age. You probably wouldn't call it metal. It's usually not metal intensity, but it's close to the point where it's starting to get to the border of punk. Anyways, this is what I think. Most people are probably not going to disagree about it. So let's answer these questions. How to detect slop? We figured that out. What is slop? We figured that out. How much of it is slop? Not much. Probably a pretty even amount. Actually, let me show you the distribution. Here we go. Final result. If we look here, controversy, low. Catalog seems to be kind of going slop, and then good amount of mid, and then a lot of hits and really good stuff. 3-quadrant band. I'm going to give it overall. AC/DC are, in fact, not slop. AC/DC may be a little predictable. They're on the predictable side of that whole curve back there, but on the slop detector, but they are not slop in general, if you had to generalize it. So thanks for watching. If you like the video, comment, subscribe, and look alive! Let me step and stop and yawn soon.